Welcome to Masterclass Wrestling with Class. Make sure to subscribe, like, and share. Today's guest, Fred OTTMAN. Produced by Victoire. Masterclass is sponsored by Clark's Nutrition and Natural Foods Market, serving California since 1972. Football, baseball, golf, whatever your sport of choice, whenever you visit Palm Springs in the Coachella Valley, visit Legends and Icons, your #1 choice for sports bars. Palm Springs, California, Indian Wells, California, Rancho Mirage, California. They're all considered a destination hotspot, a second home haven. With an exquisite record of negotiating the finest deals for clients, Lowell Folsom III and Associates always deliver. Contact Lowell today at 760-391-2504. And now on with the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Victoire. I am Emir, your host. Before I begin today, I ask that you kindly subscribe to the channel, like and share the videos. It helps us spread them so much further. Today, I am honored to be joined by one of the greats from the WWE and WCW, in fact, Golden Era. Ladies and gentlemen, you may remember him as Typhoon or Tugboat. This is Fred OTTMAN. Fred, welcome to the show, my friend.
Amir, it's a pleasure being here with you. Glad we could finally hook up.
Yeah, it's been a long time. We've been trying to set this up, but hey, good things to come to those who wait.
Yes, that's what they say.
So they say.
But meanwhile, pursue.
Yes,
that's the only way you get those things accomplished.
Yep, absolutely. You've got to pursue, sir.
Yeah.
And that's obviously something that you know very well, Fred, because you broke into an industry during a time that I think it's safe to say you didn't have as many avenues back then. It was a little bit more difficult. But Fred, I'd love to take you back on a journey down memory lane and find out a little bit about who you were before you got into wrestling, and was wrestling always your dream? Tell us a little bit about your early life.
Well, my early life, I've always been a wrestling fan. Still am a wrestling fan. I just have a smaller window of patience for watching wrestling now, although I love it, and I believe there's a lot of great athletes out there that are working and a lot of places for them to go. Yeah. But it's one of those things that I always loved. I was like 8, 9 years old. I watched wrestling on Saturday mornings. I was born and raised in Miami, Florida. Okay. And they used to come on Saturdays, Florida Championship Wrestling or Championship Wrestling from Florida, depending what area you're in, when it was an independent territory. And when I broke into business, it was still territories around. Okay. And, 2 to 3 state type deals, and a lot of Vince McMahon's running around in just the United States.
Yeah.
And even in Hawaii had their own territory there.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, I love that. I'd wake up on Saturday morning and I'd be watching Popeye, and I'd be watching Looney Tunes, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and that. I still watch cartoons. I'm just turned 68 and I'm still infant in my brain.
Yeah.
But I would watch cartoons, and then around 11 o'clock is when the wrestling show would come on, and I'd watch guys, the Funks, Terry and Dory Funk. I would watch, Dusty Rhodes. I would watch a guy named the Great Malenko, who was an incredible heel. Mm-hmm. I would watch the Briscoe brothers, Jack and Jerry Briscoe, and a skinny giant at that point in time when I watched him, when he came through Florida. Florida was a very busy territory.
Yeah.
And as a matter of fact, they used to do, when I turned 16, I went to go to my first live wrestling show. Yeah. And it was a venue called the Miami Beach Convention Center. And that's where they filmed the original Jackie Gleason show.
Oh,
who was
wow.
also had several houses down near anywhere that was near gambling.
Yeah.
He had a house. Loved the horses, loved the dogs when they raced dogs, and all that kind of stuff. Really, really nice man. I got to meet him later on in life when I worked as an extra on Smokey and the Bandit too.
Oh,
And he was a very, very, very nice man. Met him, Sally Fields, and Jerry Reed, and all the cast and that was part of that movie. And but yeah, I would watch wrestling, and then after wrestling was over, it was outside to play with my buddies.
yeah.
Playing what kids play back in the day. Riding bicycles, playing football, basketball, and
Yeah.
just getting into not too bad of trouble. Just
Yeah.
but it was a great time and a great memory in my brain. And uh, and who knew that it's not what I went to school for. Wrestling wasn't. I actually came out of high school, and I've worked pretty much almost like full time since I'm 12 years old. My first job was in a 66 filling station,
Okay.
and I learned I learned all kind of stuff about working on cars and all that stuff from an old Polish man who him and his wife, they lived on Miami Beach, but he had a big shop and warehouse near me and a gas station. So he gave me the opportunity, 75 cents an hour, making that big money at 12 years old. And, but learning things,
Yeah.
which was much more valuable than the actual salary I was making, the $30 maybe, because I was working after school and on Saturdays.
Yeah.
But it was a great time, but I've had several jobs and stuff like that growing up. And my dad always told me the more things that you know and the more things you have the ability to do, learn.
Yeah.
I've spent most of my younger days growing up
Mhm.
around older retired people
Mhm.
and learning things.
Mhm.
Sit down in conversations and listen and ask questions, and they were tolerant of me
Yeah.
asking those questions
Yeah.
because I wanted to learn. I
Yeah.
wanted to learn whether it was hands on or whether it was asking questions and getting answers that I could absorb into my
Mhm.
head. But I went to college. I was studying to be a commercial artist.
Okay.
Um, and uh, I was also a power lifter in high school. I played football. I
Mhm.
wrestled a little amateur wrestling, and when I was in high school, I just started lifting weights when I was graduating from high school before going to college. I threw shot put and discus, and I wound up with a, uh, a scholarship at a junior college in Miami,
Okay.
Miami-Dade North, and but I started going to the gym on a regular basis and that, and uh, I met when the wrestlers would come to town. There were several of them that would come there to train,
Mhm.
and they'd see me, and I was powerlifting and everything. I looked real good. I was young, baby face guy, and they're like, "Man, have you ever thought about doing this and that?" I says, "Well, I wrestle a little amateur and everything and that, but I never thought about doing this as a profession. I mean, it's just something that I enjoyed and thought was very, very cool. I would,
Yeah.
but my main thing was getting a good job that would pay me and give me benefits and
Yeah.
the old blue collar deal. That's the way my dad was raised. He didn't finish junior high school. He's born and raised in the Bronx, New York.
Okay.
And my mom, both of them, she left home when she was 15 to live with my grandmother in Miami.
Mhm.
And they met when my dad was in the service and he was in town down there. And just by random, he moved there and started, met her at a drugstore
Yeah.
and asked who she was and that stuff from the guy that was the owner of the drugstore. And
Yeah.
rest is history. They started dating in the whole nine yards and, one of those deals. But, really, I had great parents. They're married for 60 years.
Okay. That's
And
good.
I feel blessed,
Mhm.
from coming from that kind of background. That's all I ever wanted was a a decent job, you know, and a nice family, and you know, children and that stuff. And that's all you know, that was my, you know, goal. You know,
Yeah.
not to be a multimillionaire or a TV star, that kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah, far from that. But yeah, I mean, they told me there was a guy named the Great Malenko because they would keep pestering me.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the two guys in particular were the Royal Kangaroos.
Okay.
Costello was one, and then I forget the name of the other gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
And they told me that he had a school on weekends up in Fort Lauderdale. And they said, man, you should go up there and talk to him and everything. I was a big fan of his. He was a tremendous heel that
Yeah.
I grew up watching. And later on, I met both of his sons, who were both incredible wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. Dean Malenko, the man of 1,000 holes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
You know, then his brother Joseph, who was trained by Carl Gotch, who's was an ex-German gold medalist back in the day, and he's the one that trained Joe Malenko, and he was a shooter, and Joe was a incredible submission wrestler.
Yeah.
So you know, the rest was history. I finally went up there, audited the class, you know, and just to see what this is all about, and went up there.
Yeah.
Met everybody, met the boys, met all the other guys that were training, and they were all awesome guys.
Yeah.
You know, and I asked a lot of questions, and more than a coach, he was more like a dad, I guess, is the best description. All of us that have ever come through there, that went through and were trained by him, you know, we looked at him more as a dad than as a coach. Coach was primarily what he was, but you know, he had that kind of rapport with everybody.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't a screamer yeller. That he was more for, I'll show you this, if you correct you or show you proper things to do.
Yeah.
So he was definitely, you know, one of the best things. I always claim he's my second dad.
Okay.
Because that's the way I felt about him. You know, he was a wonderful guy.
Yeah.
And both Dean and Jody, they were great. And, you know, and I have a lot of friends that I'm still friends with that were all ex-Malenko guys. You're never an ex. You're there for the deal. But I went up there and I started training there. And then my parents had moved to North Florida. And so I'm like, well, you know what? Nothing's holding me here. So I wound up moving to the Tampa Bay area, because that way I could train 5-6 days a week, and I could train with weights every day and work, you know, and I'd rather be a busy fool than an idle one.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just the way I've always been.
Yeah.
And the rest was history. You know, the early parts of my life is like that. I mean, it's a whole lot more intricate, but you don't have the many hours to listen to me back a lot.
Right. We'll just get the highlights here. We'll get to
just the mediocre highlights. Yes.
Yeah, just the highlights. But you mentioned they're commercial artists. So was that for you were interested in perhaps animation or something like that? What were your ideas at that time?
Well, it was my instructor, who was a tremendous artist, been at many art shows all over the world. He came to us one day. He goes, you know, you heard the term starving artists.
Yeah.
Well, if you just want to do artwork and you could be the best that there is, you're dependent on finding somebody that likes the work that you do, or has use for that particular piece that you thought so much, unless you were commissioned for it, to do. And he goes, as a commercial artist, you will learn everything: offset printing, strip color and black and white stripping. You will learn illustration. You will, I mean, all the gimmicks, A to the B, you know, from, you know, learning how to put things together. If you want, we're doing ads, learning how to put them together. And, you know, and plus part of that's learning, you know, all the aspects of illustration.
Yeah.
You know, you know, that way you have a working understanding of doing tremendous artwork and pairing it with the logistics, you know, in other words, doing ads for newspapers or for television.
Yeah.
And you know, different, you know, all different types of things. And you know, and it was very interesting. And you know, I was lucky enough to been good track athlete and got myself a scholarship, and it paid my way and that stuff. But before I graduated, just before I graduated from school, my dad had a heart attack. That's what took him up north. He had a heart attack. He worked for Eastern Airlines back in the day, which I eventually worked at Eastern Airlines, also as a mechanic. And my dad was a mechanic, and we did everything, spray painting, all that stuff, I mean, the aircraft. And I learned so much, but again, my dad said, the more things that you'll never have a problem keeping a roof over you or your family's head, and you'll have many avenues. Okay, so you'll never have to worry about a job or being able to make ends meet. And I mean, I was, I learned so much. Those were words and I tried to pass them down to my children.
Yeah.
I said, the more things that you know how to do. My oldest boy works for WWE now. He always wanted to be part of the business. My ex-wife, she didn't care much for that. But he's wound up making a very, very good living. But when he went through wrestling school, he wasn't a gym rat. So when he wanted to, he says, I want to be part of this. And he goes, but I want to be a referee, Dad. I says, you're still going to have to go through wrestling training.
Yeah.
Because everybody in that ring has to have the same knowledge and understanding to know what's going on inside that ring.
Yeah.
Okay. You have to know, you have to know what they're doing, how they're doing it, if it's doing correctly, if somebody's tried to stretch somebody, or going out beyond, doing stuff way beyond the bounds of what's considered being a nice person, as far as in our business goes. And that wasn't there, but he never he had to wrestle and go through school with, matter of fact, an old wrestler, Mike Graham, that I wrestled with, and that he helped train him. His dad was Eddie Graham, that had the Florida promotion for years. And Dusty was there, who was his godfather.
Okay.
And there was Steve Kern. There was a lot of other great wrestlers that were there. And CWF in Florida, that was before NXT.
Okay.
That was developmental for WWE, one of the developmental areas. OVW in Ohio was another place the guys trained, and a few guys went through Memphis with Jerry Lawler and those guys there. So there's places all over the country that are respected enough that they allow people to train there and consider them for before NXT had the full-blown facility that they have now.
Yeah.
So I'm proud of him. He's done very, very well. He's on people know him mostly as the timekeeper ringside, but he does a big portion of all the television production stuff.
Oh,
he works in conjunction with those, and also handles stuff for the arenas that they go to, and he travels with them, like when he went to Saudi Arabia and all these other shows and that.
Yeah.
And he is ref new talent that were coming in for the company to get a look at and everything. So he's got those skills, and he did what I told him to do. I says, wrestling may come and wrestling may go. Okay. I always like to put it that way.
Yeah.
There's so much scuttlebutt all the time. Anyway, I'm like, but television production, you can use with internet production stuff, as far as where everything is going nowadays online. You have and motion picture production, television production, all the aspects. The more you learn, the more of a sponge that you become, more knowledge that you suck up.
Yeah.
And and he's done very, very well. And when I do signings and that, I hear feedback, like when from very, very great people, that have been on the road with me and everything. I remember the first time, Pat Patterson's gone now.
Yeah.
I remember him going, your son Berkeley's just amazing.
Yeah.
He never turns down something. Even if he's never done it before, and he's been put in this high pressure, deals and everything. He's even been involved in angles that they've done.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I'm very proud of him. I'm glad that he has done so well. Anybody's child I would want to see, I'm sure they the same way they would want to see their child, progress and do it. The sky's the limit.
Yeah.
As far as you're only limited by, your mentality and your ability to do something or to learn something. Learning is the most important thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with you 100% there. You in some ways, you've moved into some of that sort of more motivational role. A lot of your posting on social media is very inspiring. You've got faith in there. You've got other words of encouragement. And, I'll reflect that for the audience, right to learn all you can, because even if we do live in an age where it seems that everything is condensing to technology, what if that technology just went away one day? Nothing is guaranteed. And we still need to learn how to survive, even in the every pun intended, after a natural disaster.
Yes.
You need the skills to be able to survive. So that's
and I don't mean to interrupt you, but I mean, the internet could be the second coming of the devil, as far as I'm concerned, in many aspects. And I don't mean to be ugly or downgrade everything and that stuff. It surely has, in many ways, people don't want to work for things anymore. People want things handed to them.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, parents sometimes are enablers. Instead of, I mean, I'm not saying be a terror to your child, but on the other hand, okay, it's you're the person teaching that child, and first things I learned in life were yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir.
Yeah.
Be appreciative. When you go to church, it's not thank you for not getting my ass whooped, but thank you for the looking after me and my family. Thank you for things. Instead of asking. Every prayer is for to make me better or make me have money or make me have this. By your work, what you do is what can make you successful. And not everybody. If they, I tell kids, if it was called enjoyment, it wouldn't be called work.
Right.
Okay, because work's not a fun thing.
Yeah.
And like and especially if you wanted to do a job or there's something that you want to achieve in life. Okay, you better love what you do for you to be successful at what you do.
Yeah.
Good, bad, or ugly. You know what I'm saying? To be successful, you have to love what you do, to be able to go and do that same thing. I mean, when I wrestled on the road, we wrestled no less than 300 days a year.
Yeah.
Sometimes more. Billy from Demolition one time told me, he goes, we were talking, I love him and Barry Darso, the Demolition, and he's like, one year I did 365 days straight on the road. I was off one day and went back on the road. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And you got to figure, and if you have family in that, and depending where you're, like I said, I tell guys, I've been to 46 countries and I feel blessed because it gave me an opportunity to see different religions, to, savor different foods, savor different cultures. And I feel blessed to have, I would have, any other job, I would not have been able to see the things and do the things that I've done.
Yeah.
I mean, if that's all you got paid, fed and paid for, and could do whatever little bills you had.
Yeah.
What an education.
Yeah.
You know, what education and to give, people say a lot of ugly things, a lot about a lot of people from different cultures and stuff. And where I was raised was multicultural city, always has been. And I'm like, and some of the things I see today, I think are very ugly, and that's just, by me, things like that are just my opinion, okay? And opinions are like people's rear ends, and some of them stink. That's what I always like to tell people, you know? But, unfortunately, you hate to see things are changing so much and so fast that it's a scary kind of deal, And, it's good to, and like us, church wasn't a real option on the road, a lot, and then the multitude of guys and their different lifestyles that you're working with when you're on the road that much, it's difficult,
Yeah.
But, church is a building, okay? And you can still worship and be religious,
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah.
And here.
Yeah.
It's so, I've been going to church since I'm a small kid and, and learned. And because of my first marriage, I married into a different religion and everything, but I've always had an open mind. One of the things that took me from the church as a young teenager was going to a service one time by a minister, mind you, having a service and criticizing other religions. Oh, this religion is an idol worshiper. This religion is this. This religion is that. Who are you, the head of a church, okay, of whatever the religion was that was going to, and casting that stone and criticizing people for the way they worship or what they worship? Should it be you? I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I meander sometimes, so I'm sorry if I got off track there a minute.
No,
But it bothered me.
Yeah. No, it's good to talk about faith because again, you touched on the internet, so I'll go back to that. And yeah, I was having a conversation with a young man, a young man who helps me, so I'll give him a plug today on this podcast. His name is Nate. He's a wonderful man. He helps me greatly. He works with us, obviously here in Southern California with EWF and Jesse Hernandez.
Yeah.
And we were talking about the internet. It can be used wisely as a business tool, but that's it. It needs to be clipped there. It's not a pastime. And it's there to educate. You can educate using the internet now. You can share knowledge, and those things I think are beneficial. But yeah, it can be used for bad. On that note, jumping to something else you said about worship, Fred, I had a wonderful interview with a gentleman by the name of Titus Morris. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him. He's circulated a lot on YouTube. Peter Stantonello did a special with him. Their video reached, I think, 12 million views. And he's a man of faith. He's a Christian, and he's developed something. I think it's in Kentucky, and he's helping educate people on how to survive, like without electricity, without, work with your hands, get back out in nature. So it was very eye-opening for me, inspired me greatly. So I think it's great that we have these conversations because we can get caught in the hoopla of TV and pro wrestling. But if we're not talking about the truth behind it, we're just talking superficial. So I think it's good that we go to those places, Fred.
Oh, yeah. I believe it is wholeheartedly because I've seen so many things, and I'm seeing things that change, and I'm not a political guy, I'm not I keep whatever I feel, that I keep it to myself and in my heart and everything, because everybody is a how can I put this, an armchair quarterback, okay? And they want to judge you by one little thing that you said. I have a friend of mine that has wrestled with me for years. He trained when I trained and everything, and he's a pot stirrer. I love him to death, but he'll say something intentionally, just to see the feedback. And I mean, it's horrendous. And I'm like, you're a bad man. I says, I'm gonna check your head for horns. I says, you are a bad man. And but I'm like, and he is a great guy and that stuff, but he just likes to stir the pot. He goes, people are so hypocritical, so judgmental, you know, especially wrestling fans. They've never laced a boot, but here they are out there throwing it out there, just like all the stuff they've been criticizing about these Olympic athletes. There was the one woman, I guess, he brought to my attention that was a boxer, and they were judging her because she knocked the heck out of her opponent. They were judging her because of her testosterone level or something like that. Something that happened, and you know, meanwhile they didn't look back at the other 9 or 10 or more fights that she had been knocked out and lost.
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, I don't know.
The term,
you know,
the term Fred comes to mind like short term memory, attention deficit. They're not looking forward. They're not looking. People, it's a sad thing, and it's
yes,
becoming. You have to disconnect from the social media every day.
right,
You've got to disconnect. You cannot. First of all, you can't have a relationship with God if you're always on your phone. You can't have a relationship with a wife, with a brother, with a friend. You can't. It's impossible. So
yes,
I think, like I said, using it wisely and like
yeah.
you said, Fred, you know, use your hands, learn other skills. Don't just get tunnel vision into one area. Because tomorrow we don't know what tomorrow will bring.
Well, there's so much turmoil in the world right now, and I look and listen, and I'm like, and everybody's on that phone and on this and that. We're just one click away for putting this in the dark ages.
Yep.
And what would people do,
Yeah.
not knowing? You talking about the gentleman that was working with people up in Kentucky or something like that, or whatever, telling them to live, teach them how to live off the grid or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think, that's extreme, but you know what? It's not far from the truth, because nobody would know. It's like giving a kid, we have progressed in such a short time over the years. When you look at the grand scheme of things, inventions and stuff and everything, I mean, from the rotary phone, the push button phone. I mean, and I love watching the videos where kids are given their rotary phone and they're trying to figure out how to use it like they would do a cell phone, where they hang it up, they listen to the dial tone, hang it up, push the buttons, and wait for and they're looking at it like, what's it going to do what it's supposed to do? When's it going to make the call? Just little things like that, even, and like, it's just amazing. And people need to look and think, when you put all your eggs in one basket and you don't have any kind of other skills, okay, or knowledge, no matter how archaic or how stupid something they may think, or this is old school, type of, things that you want me to. I have no need for that. I could do this now. I could do that now. I mean, shoot, I have the whole entire library in my hand with this phone.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got a GPS on my phone. As I joke with my wife all the time, I'll go into like, we just got back from being down in Florida because I had to go see some doctors there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we were going through Alabama to come to Tennessee, and I'm like, I came out of the rest stop, I used the bathroom, I come out with the old folding mat.
Oh yeah.
I says, look, honey, I brought you redneck GPS. And she was laughing, because she's from Tennessee. I says, look what I got you.
Yeah.
Redneck GPS.
Yeah.
Because the girl sends you.
Okay, so Fred, you've gathered all this experience, you've trained now you start entering into pro wrestling and taking it seriously as a career. So tell us a little bit about those early days. How long did it take you to be able to earn enough money from the business to quote unquote quit your day job? How long did all that take, and where were you performing?
Well, I performed when I was training. I moved up to Tampa Bay, where I was training there, and then Malenko would run shows there also. Like, the equivalent would be for independents, but that way gave people. I mean, we wrestled at flea markets. We wrestled in what do you call it, rodeo arenas. We wrestled at several. I wrestled in a mall.
Yeah.
In the middle of a mall. It's different events and stuff, and so it let you get acquainted with them. just like I tell guys today, the new territories of wrestling today are the independents that are running out there. Now, there's some guys that should not be training people because they see that as it's the equivalent. You have to remember that wrestling got its start as part of a carnival sideshow.
Yeah.
Back in the day, traveling carnivals had wrestling. They had the tough man contest. You knock out my champion, you win such and such amount of dollars. They had the freak shows on the side. Just a multitude. The slinky dancing girls and the whole 9 yards as part of the whole carnival scene. So it started that. Matter of fact, in the South, when I trained to break in the business, I learned Carney. I could speak Carney language. Which was kind of fun when I became well known and I did a few shows that were involved, that they brought us in, for different shows. Mm-hmm. And you walk around, you hear the carnival guys, talking one another, talking smack, and, speaking Carney. And I would say something, about me and a couple of the other guys, and they were like, huh? They're like, oh, how do you know that? I go, brother, where do you think this business started? Yeah. I says, you're not, back in the day in the South, wrestlers, the old school wrestlers would call wrestling spots. It wasn't like, in the ring, if somebody didn't know something or was green, and had a, not a very well versed wrestling, knowledge. Somebody would talk to him, and Carney, and say, you could do this or do that or do that, especially in old time.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a cool thing. Mm-hmm. Now the business has changed. Yeah. Back in the day, they had kayfabe, which is was something that they took pride in. That wrestlers took pride in back in the day. Yeah. And that's nothing now. The business has been exposed on so many levels, so many ways. It's and you still have the people, but they're old school guys that I've seen guys. Roddy Piper one time on a talk show with a semi-famous host. He was talking. Well, that's all staged and fake, right? And he says, he proceeded to undo his pants. Here's a whole live audience. Yeah. Pull his pants down. You see the scar here? It's from blah 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 blah. And he's like, he's trying to turn his head and not to look. Yeah. And Roddy is so quick-witted and so intelligent. Made him look like such a dumbass. Yeah. And back in the then you had that incident that happened. I think who was it? Ted Stossel or somebody that got smacked, busted his eardrum. It was a lawsuit.
Oh, yeah.
He was doing the deal at a live wrestling event.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And he got, you ask a stupid question, you get a stupid reply.
Yep.
Smacked him. Was that fake? And knocked him on his ass, so.
Yeah. That was David Schultz. David
Schultz. He's from here, a Tennessee guy. Yeah. And don't put up with any BS. And when he left the business, he used to chase bond skips, for a job for years. Yeah. He was a bad son of a gun.
Yeah. Yeah. He wasn't exaggerating too much on TV.
No, they wound up getting fired over that, which it went far and above what should have happened. And then when you do something that somebody wants you to do and it's a guy that you're telling them that to do it, it's a controversial guy to begin with. Yeah. Hey. Yeah. Is it fair? No. But in life, everything, nothing's fair, Right. And it's just a shame what happened. Yeah. Because very, very good wrestler, very good entertainer, tough son of a gun. Yeah. And I've met him on a few occasions and nice man. Yeah. Nice man. Yeah. Yeah. And but you wouldn't want to meet him in a dark alley.
No,
that kind of guy. Yes.
I think it's safe to say, it's fair to say, Fred, there were a lot of guys like that during that era, in the golden era, who who are very, very tough. And Rick Rude, we hear the stories of Rick Rude and, the Road Warriors and, very tough,
Oh
don't
yeah,
mess with them outside of the business.
yeah. I knew all those guys very, very well.
Mhm.
A lot of them from the Apple Valley area up in Minnesota,
Yeah.
and just really good guys. I mean, grew up. A lot of them grew up as kids together. The Road Warriors, and several of the other guys all grew up together in the same Apple Valley area
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, of Minneapolis, and just they were badasses back in the day.
Yeah.
Half three-quarters of them bounced in bars and and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Before and when they were breaking into business, and they were trained by guys like Brad Reagans that were tough son of a guns.
Hmm.
Great amateur, great shooters, and very respectful of the business. And they were brought in to
Hmm.
be respectful of the business and
Hmm.
the people in the business.
Hmm.
So it's crazy, crazy, crazy things.
Do you,
But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, Fred, do you think that since stripping away kayfabe, that guys today, because you're around it with your son,
Yeah,
is it the same level of respect as it was back then? I mean, because now kayfabe doesn't exist anymore, or has the respect changed level?
I think a lot of the younger guys, there's different kinds of guys. There's some guys that were, second, third generation, fourth generation, okay, that were brought into the business and around their dads or uncles or grandparents or whatever that were part of the business. And then there's a lot there. There's a lot of people that have come into the business, seen the successes of like, The Rock and John Cena and all these people that have made the step from wrestling to Hollywood and other different parts of life. A
Yeah.
lot of the girls now are doing that OnlyFans stuff, which I'm not a real big
Mm-mm.
judge. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a slippery slope that you tread
Yeah.
upon doing that.
Yeah.
But they're making so much money in that stuff. And money, like you said, the root of all evil
Yep.
is
The root.
money.
The root of all evil. It is. It's true. It's true, Fred. It's like,
you know,
yeah, when I saw that, once you bring in the element of someone outside of the business, because of course now WWE is owned by an outside entity. It's not
right?
controlled by a wrestling family anymore. So
Yeah,
now you have Hollywood that's
yeah,
involved. So now you change the dynamic entirely. Um,
yes,
but fortunately, we still have AEW, we still have the NWA, TNA, although I'm not sure if they have a deal with WWE. It appears that way. But yeah, it's definitely changed the landscape. And as you said, money can corrupt. Money can, very much
yeah,
very quickly. Um,
uh-huh.
that's why it's important to have, it's like with you, you've had your grounding in faith. And was that a challenge for you when you were wrestling and you were around some of these other guys? Was it a struggle for you, or were you pretty rooted in your faith?
I was pretty rooted in my faith, and my upbringing and that stuff. I am no angel by any stretch of the imagination. I've done some things in my younger days
Mhm.
that would be some people would find very questionable,
Mhm.
but I never admitted to being an angel either.
Right.
I'm just a normal human being, just like everybody else out there.
Yeah.
Even the most pious and the most what do you call it, religious and that stuff are prone to have a darker side.
Yeah.
Nothing as drastic as some of the stuff that I've seen come about.
Mhm.
But guys giving up I always used to joke my ex father-in-law. He was he worked for a guy named Santo Trafficante.
Okay.
If you can look that name up in Florida, he was the godfather there in Florida.
Okay.
Okay. And I've been to his house where there's a picture of the Pope as I walked in the door, hanging on the wall by the door opening. And, you know, great guy, very nice man, old
Yeah.
school. My father-in-law, he was in the bar and restaurant business for 50 years or more.
Okay.
And he was a person that worked with him on many occasions. And anyway, um, they that's down there. nothing that these guys could possibly on the road confront me with or have me be around. I would, it's not where I was raised in Miami and the people that I was surrounded by. Because at one point, Miami was the haven for many colorful people from up north back in the day. Okay. So a lot of people, even when the first time my ex-wife brought me to meet her father, who owned at that time a strip club, one of the oldest ones in Tampa, and she brought me to his house, and he's there cleaning a pistol, and there's guns everywhere and all this stuff and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he's cleaning the pistol because I'm sure that he wanted, she told him I'm going to bring him by, and she didn't have a very good rapport with him anyway. And he wound up liking me better than her. And even when I had gotten my divorce, he's like, is she dumb? You're such a nice guy, and blah, 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 blah. I says, the most important thing are the children and the rapport that we have with the children. Whether we can be together or not is a moot point. Yeah. I says, they're my biggest concern, and me being a provider for those children. The wrestling business paid for all of their births into this, and Vince sent me home every time. I had been at TVs almost for every one of their births, and I do what I was supposed to do at the TV, and he got a plane ticket for me, sent me home. I was there when they born, boom, right back to the road. And I thought that was, as much heat as he gets. But, there's a lot, people ask me all the time, Fred, you should write a book. Okay, you should write a book. Yeah. I've got friends of mine that are authors and stuff that, ghostwriters that are one friend of mine, he writes, and he is an attorney, does family law and that stuff. He's going, Fred, you need to do this. His father used to handle all the private affairs for a ton of the guys that wrestled in Florida back in the day, because his office was in Orlando. Yeah. And Kevin Sullivan was one of his clients. I mean, it was a multitude of guys. Yeah. That he would handle their estates and, business ventures and all that stuff, put it together for him. But I'm like, you know what all people want, all those people out there that we talked about earlier, that are on the internet and making judgment calls and casting stones at people that are, busting their butt and this and that, and what they could do, or what, oh, he should be doing this, he should be doing that. They've never laced a boot, never put on a pair of tights, never been in that squared circle. And here they are trying to make a judgment call. Yeah. And with, like I said, writing a book, all they want to know is the crap, the dark stuff. Yeah. All they want to know is to give them more ammunition. Well, did you know he used to do this? And when he was on the road, he did that, and blah, 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 blah. I mean, that's the kind of stuff, and I'm like, I don't want any part of that. No, I don't want any part of that. That's not my deal. Right. And there's a lot of guys, because remember, like you were saying before, how those people on the road, all those guys have different personalities. All those guys have, different moral codes. Yeah. And I don't cast any stones at any, I'm not, I'm not heavily religious, but I pray for my children every day. I pray, my wife, and I'm thoughtful and caring as far as gratitude that I have, that the good Lord has taken care of me and my wife, and has looked over us, and she's the best thing that ever happened to me. I tease her all the time. I says, why'd you kick me to the curb all those years ago when you were just my friend? Yeah. You really liked me. Yeah. And because they go, people meet us and they're like, you guys act like you've been forever. How long you guys been married? Yeah. I says, we're just going on our 13th year this year. Yeah. I says, I was married to my first wife for 17. Okay. And but being with guys on the road, the turmoil, the cheating, this, that, having to be, if you're a tag team, being a babysitter for the other guy. Yeah. Because one of you is going to be you can be the goodest good guy that there is. Yeah. The other one's going to be, you have to worry about him showing up and not missing his flight. You got to worry that he don't go out on the town and get arrested. Yeah. And all those things affect you as an individual. And wrestling is no different than any other job that there is. Okay. You're going to have guys that you work with that you hate, and hate is a very strong word.
Yeah.
You know, that disgust you,
Yeah.
or, you know, different things. You know, my dad always told me, you just gotta, you know, take a breath, you know, and and do what you're there to do your job. And you know that. My mom, on the other hand, she goes, honey, you're going to meet guys that from a young age, she told me this, that if you can buy them for what they were worth and sell them for what they thought they were worth, you would be a millionaire, honey. And I wholeheartedly believe that to my last breath. And that is a fact of life. And you know what? It's called a job. You go, even though it's a physical job and it's a job involving entertaining the masses, you know, and hopefully doing your job well enough, you know, it's the greatest thing in the world when when I go do signings and they come up to my table and tell me what a big fan of, or they pull out different things and that. I still got people that hate me for turning on the bushwhackers during a match when I was doing the change.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Babyface to heel. And they were like, you know, I couldn't believe you turned on those guys. And, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, and I'll, you know, at least I got to talk to Bush before he died, and I'm still good friends with Luke. And I'm like, little do they know, these two guys, as the sheep herders, mind you, were the bloodiest, nastiest heels. Probably in professional wrestling. And Luke still does stuff, and he is, you know, mostly tag matches, but he's been wrestling since 1963. Okay. And a multitude of, matter of fact, my buddy that I told you about, the attorney, he wrote that was his first attempt at writing a biography. And right before they passed, he wrote a biography. He was on the doing these type calls, you know, but one was in New Zealand, you know, and Luke lives in Clearwater, and you know, and he lives over in Orlando by DeLands now. My buddy does, John Crowler, and he's, you know, he'd be on it was the most exciting thing working with him in that. And I can only imagine, because they are both incredible human beings. And I really miss Butch. I was looking forward to going to Mania, and I had a problem. The guy that was bringing me in was unable to do the deal, but I was able to call while they were doing a remote signing in the hotel room, and I had them both on there, and we were just cutting up back and forth, and it was incredible. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Matter of fact, the guy that they were doing the signing for, I was just at the Gathering 5 over in Charlotte, not this past weekend, but the weekend before that, and did a signing. I did a private signing for him. He's from California. And he says, I remember you were on the phone talking to Butch when we were doing the signing. I says, oh, it was you. It's how coincidental that I'm doing a signing for you here. You know, and then he had made the deal for that with the guy that brought me to Charlotte. So it was nice. It was nice.
No, the convention circuit seems to be increasing exponentially. There are a lot of opportunities now. I think people are definitely looking back. You know, the guys that were fans of that golden era now are, you know, 35, 40, and they're taking their kids. You mentioned Luke. I've interviewed him a couple of times. His story is so extensive. We're doing like 3 or 4 parts. So he's been so encouraging, so nice to me. And like you said, I didn't realize how brutal they were. I mean, I just, you know, I didn't realize, you know.
If you watch the other stuff, they've done matches where all the ropes were barbed wire. There was a piece of loose barbed wire in the ring. I mean, you know, I mean, just blood everywhere. That's like the first time I went on the circuit. I was booked to go to Texas, San Antonio, Texas. And I got my cherry pop there because it was blood and guts every single night. And I had never done anything like this or been as exposed to this kind of deal. Texas was a very bloody territory. And I asked something like, what's the deal, man? What's the deal? And a lot of old school guys there, and they're going, this is how it is. And not to sound prejudiced or anything, I'm not. They go, there's a heavy Mexican population here. These guys go to work Monday through Friday with one another, and sometimes on the weekend. But when Friday night comes, they're going out to the bar or whatever. Saturday night, usually they're going out with their girlfriend and that stuff like that.
Yeah.
And those guys will work side by side each other, wind up getting in a fight, and either stabbed or shot, and wind up going back to work on Monday morning to the business. So if there is no hardcore contact involved, they're going to go, oh, BS. This is nah. They ain't buying it.
Right.
That's the way it was explained to me.
Yeah.
That was my first territory, San Antonio.
Yeah.
For Texas All-Star Wrestling.
Okay.
And a guy named Fred Blanchard was a guy. He used to promote the southern end for the Von Erichs for their shows. And then he was a car salesman turned promoter, and he was a great guy.
Yeah.
He had a lot of demons, but he was a great guy.
Yeah.
And it was a heavy cross of young talent, old talent. Shawn Michaels, he looked like he was 12 years old. And the man that trained him was wrestling there, Jose Lothario.
Yep.
Incredible guy. All the Guerreros, they were there. I even seen at one point, we did TV across the street from where the office was. And there was a guy named Al Madrill, and he's doing an angle with Chavo Guerrero and his brothers Mondo, who became a great stuntman in Hollywood. Okay. And Hector Guerrero, and all these guys were wrestling in a big angle. And I seen them take his 80-plus-year-old dad, and Chavo Guerrero pile drive them onto a wooden platform stage.
Wow.
In the arena where they did you go up and do your announcement, do your interviews and stuff like that and everything. Pile drive 80, more than 80. That's all I could tell you.
Yeah.
Onto that hard, yeah. And he's game for it. But for years he had promoted in El Paso.
Okay.
That's where he started, as a promoter.
Yeah.
But there was guys there, old school guys, new school guys, luchadors. I could go if a show wasn't far away, and on a Saturday I could go to a flea market there locally in San Antonio, and there was a lucha show going on. You could go there at the flea market, and you could watch if you had enough time before you had to bail to go to the show you're at. You could, and this is something absolutely new to me. I'd never seen lucha. Every match was 2 out of 3 falls. I mean, it was amazing the stuff that they were doing. And I was, because the more stuff you know how to do, or things that you know how to do, the only, I was just so intrigued about it, and with wrestling, you're constantly learning. It's a constant learning circle. So, it was great. Here you are far away from your family, your home. I was single then, and, it was just a lot of craziness. It was a lot of craziness.
Yeah. But you adapted. I mean, you were very agile for a big man. You were very agile in the ring. I do remember that. But in that territory at that time, were you engaging in some of that more extreme wrestling, or did they keep you more just, traditional?
Oh, no. I had my first cage match there with Ox Baker.
Oh, wow.
And yes. And, it was amazing. Here I'm meeting this guy here. I remember seeing him. He's a guy that came 15, 20 years too late, because with the look he had, if he had been a newer guy coming in at that time, he had straight out of the sideshow kind of look about him, the big mustache, You know, he's had a whip that he would pop and slap all over.
Yeah.
I mean, he just was amazing, man. He was amazing, and uh, you know, and a good guy.
Yeah.
You know, but I was in El Paso, Texas, which was 350 miles one way.
Mhm.
All of our trips, we were putting in 3,000 to 4,000 miles a week in the car. And yeah, get a rental car, and you have to get them. Thank God my roommate, one of my roommates, was dating the manager for GM for budget rental cars. So she was getting us Lincolns, and we'd split it 4 ways, split the gas 4 ways.
Yeah.
And we were getting them for like $30, you know, a day, you know, and but we'd have to swap them in and out because we're putting so much miles on the cars, you know, but you know, she'd do anything for him, you know. So I'm like, this is okay. And it ain't killing my vehicle.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was an incredible experience, is the best I could tell you.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, that's how it was. And I got my first introduction to midgets because they would send midgets there from St. Joe's, Missouri. Little Tokyo would have the new young guys, and he'd chop the hell out of them, and it was just insanity.
Yeah.
And but all good guys. Met some of the new women that were coming into the business, and it was a great time, you know. And I was glad that if I had to do it all over again, I would do it. You know, I came in there, it was after the Terminator movie, and I was the Terminator, and then they changed. The boss called me in the office. He goes, they already had Animal's youngest brother.
Yeah.
I think the youngest one, yeah. He was a commercial artist now.
Okay.
He came in and he was the Terminator. He had the same kind of look as Joe Laurinaitis, you know, as Animal.
Yeah.
But just a smaller package, you know.
Yeah.
And so he nice guy. And they go, well, we want to change your name. They turned me Babyface. And it's going to be, see, here in Texas, Bubba's a term of endearment. Okay. Like, hey, Bubba, how you doing there, Bubba? You know, one of those kind of deals. Yeah. He goes, we want to make you Big Bubba. And I go, wow, okay. Whatever you want me to do, I'm on, you know. Yeah. Whatever it is. So I'm, you know, cool with it. And we did a lot of vignettes and a lot of different things and that. And I was still strong. They did stuff in the gym and everything where I was benching heavy weights and squatting and doing different things and stuff. And matter of fact, a couple of the Japanese magazines that came there because they'd heard about me and were taking pictures and stuff also for overseas. So I thought that was a cool deal. Yeah. And but yeah, it was a great experience. From there, I went to Tennessee. I was there for about a year and a half, probably close to 2 years. Okay. Then from there, I went to next territory was Tennessee. And we wrestled Arkansas, Missouri, Mississippi, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. Okay. On that, that's what they did. And they did their TVs in Memphis. And the commentator was a guy named Lance Russell. Really nice man. He's the one, I don't know if you know who Bill Dance is, the fishing guy. There's a lot of funny outtakes on YouTube if you can watch it. Okay. He introduced him to the people and made him a fishing legend. And he goes, can you imagine that? I'm still doing what I did. And I introduced him to this, and he's a millionaire now. You know, and he thought, you know, he says, Bubba, can you believe this guy? He goes, I get him his job. He's making millions of dollars now. Yeah. He goes, people are buying his tapes. They're buying up his lures, all these different things. He goes, oh my God. Yeah. And he's like the Don Knotts of fishing. I mean, there's YouTube video of him going to cast something and hooking a snake out of the tree. They've fallen in his boat. You know, I mean, just all those kind of outtakes on top of that, but a hell of a fisherman. Yeah. You know, and all he ever did was tournaments.
Bill Dance.
Bill Dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to look at it.
Yeah. I wrestled there. Then they tried to start up Pensacola. I went there for a short time. Then my grandfather died. So I was bummed out. Plus, I had broken up with my girlfriend at the time that I'd been with for probably 4 or 5 years. Okay. And I, via the phone, she gave me the Evo. So I'm like, okay. So at the same time, my grandfather died. So I went back. I actually called a buddy of mine from Florida. I had a cabin in East Kentucky, and I moved up there. So, kind of get away from it. All I did was train in the gym. And I was out for about 6 months. I was away from wrestling, and looking for that third eye in my head, contemplating the meaning of life. Why does this happen to me? Sulking, and I was training and all that, and then I wound up going back, and I went back to Nashville, and with my buddy that had wrestled down there with us, and he goes, I got a call from a guy in Portland, Oregon, and he was Billy Jack Haynes. Okay. He'd wrestled a short time with WWF back in the day. Great looking guy. When he was in Florida, he was a better looking Dusty Rhodes. Not as talented as Dusty Rhodes, but bodybuilder. Yeah. And he had the hat like Billy Jack out of the movie and all that from back in the day. And he was starting this wrestling. He was going to run opposition of Don Owens, who was had a legendary promotion up there in Portland. And so I got with my buddy, and we drove cross country up there, and with a couple other friends, and it took us about 4 or 5 days. We took our time going across country, and then we went to Portland and got a hotel on that, and before we got an apartment and everything, met with him and all that stuff, and he told us the whole deal. Yeah. And they were working directly with the wrestling, the head of the wrestling organizations that's up there. Shoot, I got brain fart. That 100 concussions I've had almost.
You've had 100 concussions?
Just about, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. My brain's like a BB in a boxcar, pretty basically. So it sounds like a maraca if I shake my head, or yes.
Yes.
But yes. But all for entertainment's sake.
Yep.
But yeah, they were the governing body for Oregon boxing and wrestling. Okay. They worked with him, and he had a great the arena was a skating rink that was awesome for doing wrestling. Yeah. And he was a local celebrity there, and he was hot in Florida back in the day. But it just never got over, I guess, that much in WWF, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And he just got in trouble not too long ago.
Yeah.
I think shot his wife or something like that to that. I don't know the total things of it. I know this was whoever he shot. It wasn't his original wife, I don't believe. She was from Tampa, a Latin lady. Yeah, she was a sweetheart, beautiful girl.
But wasn't he suffering from some mental trauma and things like that, or something I heard?
Supposedly, he says she was.
Oh.
It was an incident with her, but he's gone through so much in his life that who knows.
Yeah.
I couldn't judge or cast a stone as far as that goes.
Yeah.
All I could tell anybody that he was a good guy when I knew him. He was a great guy. Always was very respectful and nice to all the guys, and his wife and everything. So, but things change, you don't know.
Yeah.
Unless you're part of the inner circle there in your marriage or whatever it was, I don't know if he was married to the woman or just lived with her or, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's the kind of stuff I try and space myself away from.
Right.
But we were there for probably 6 months, 7 months, maybe. And he was doing a heck of a job, and he was doing good and all that stuff. But he had a few demons here and there. He was he liked the dogs. I think was his a bad thing for him. But gambling as far as goes, he had a nice gym there. Great membership, great crew that worked there. And but we wound up. He started going down the tube, so we wound up leaving, coming back. I came back to Tennessee, and then went down to Florida, and I was there in Tampa, living on a friend of mine had a 60-foot uh, houseboat, and I was living on it on the bay there, rent free. You know, my parents lived up in Brooksville, Florida, up where IRS lives up that way. There's the Wyndhams live up that way and all that. You know, but my parents lived up there, and I got a job working at a nightclub because of another friend of mine, and I took about a month break or something like that, and then I stopped by the office for wrestling there in Florida. Mm-hmm. And when the guys see me when I came in, man, you want to go to work? You know, I'm like, sure, sounds great, brother. Yeah. You know, and they put me to work, and I was working there, and then I worked probably for about a year or whatever, and then we did a big show. Dusty was there; he was part of the office. Dusty, Mike Graham, shoot, Steve Kern. There's a few other guys, and I worked with them. And then we had a big show. I was wrestling Dusty Rhodes in the main event at the huge show at the State Fairgrounds in Tampa. And while I was there before the show, a guy named Otto Vance, who at one time was an AWA champion up north in Minnesota. He was AWA champion. He was a promoter at that point over in he'd run Germany, Austria, and I forgot where else. Anyway, he was coming over looking for talent. There's been a lot of guys that worked in his territory, and they do catch style wrestling there. It's called catch.
What is that? What is catch?
Catch is they wrestle rounds like boxing.
Okay.
It's like regular wrestling. You wrestle 3-minute rounds.
Okay.
And 9 rounds or whatever, or until someone, either submits or is pinned. Okay. Anyway, and what they do is the wildest stuff I've ever seen. He approached me, and then after the show was over, on Monday, I get a call from the office. I went down to the office, and they're like, Otto wants you to come over for 10 days to work with him. He's the champion. Okay. He wants you to work with him for 10 days. He's seen you, and he was real impressed. And he goes, and they told me, what he was going to pay me in a whole 9 yards. And then they go, it had been my first time overseas other than the Caribbean, because we used to wrestle in the Caribbean a lot in Florida. But anyway, I went there to Graz, Austria. That's where Arnold Schwarzenegger's from. His father was the chief of police for Graz. Okay. Anyway, the sheriff or whatever that title would be. Yeah. And I'm like, and I got there and I was like, wow, they flew me to Berlin, and then from Berlin to Graz. Mm-hmm. I could get off the airplane, walk down the stairs on the aircraft, walk in the building, and there's guys with machine guns walking the balcony above me. Small little airport, I'm going, wow, this is insane. Yeah. So anyway, I got there, I worked with him, and I'd never worked that style, but there was guys from the States that I knew. Mm-hmm. There were guys from UK, guys from Ireland, guys from Germany, mm-hmm. guys from one or two guys from France. There was a couple of guys that wrestled in Japan, and they were all there working for this guy. And what they do there, mm-hmm. they run the same building, okay. 30 to 40 days every single night.
Wow, that's a lot.
Same building, and sell it out. Right, all of them are hockey arenas. Okay. They sell them out 30 to 40 days straight. All the wrestlers, except me, I was living in the hotel because I was there for 10 days. Mm-hmm. All the wrestlers live in a campground, and they pull, travel trailers. Mm-hmm. And they go from, after that 30 days, if you're still booked to the next town, there for another 30 to 40 days. I mean, you can do whole tours.
Yeah.
and they work with different people, all that, all the different guys and everything, and I learned so much. They have a big parade where when at the beginning of the night, every night's like that. They come out,
Yeah.
and they are giving flowers and all this stuff and everything. I had an interview in that. They were very impressed with me. The press was.
Mm-hmm.
They followed me all over in the gym. They followed me all different places. And I don't drink.
Okay.
So they were in Germany. Beer is 1 liter or 2 liter cups.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a lot.
And I'm in a bar at night, hanging with the guys, and I'm ordering, orange juice or apple juice,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm drinking, and they're like, this guy's, the article in the paper is he's taking, his opponents very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
He's not drinking any alcohol. He's training in the gym and, the whole 9 yards. And I thought it was very funny.
Yeah.
He goes, man, look, he goes, you're drawing a lot of attention. You're drawing a lot of attention. They think you're ready for auto. You're training for auto, and it really pumped up the whole deal. So it was kind of a neat deal as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah.
It was, and my first time overseas, so I was like, and Otto was just a tremendous guy to work with.
How old were you at that time, Fred? Do you remember?
Oh man, I don't know. Maybe 28 or 30, something like that, or maybe a little older. Because when I got back from that, no, it was older than that, early 30s, because they called me. I went to the office when I got home.
Mm-hmm.
I stopped by the next day after I'd arrived to see what was going on with, schedules and stuff like that, if I booked or when TV was and stuff. And all the guys sat down. What was really good about the Florida office was it was like a family.
Yeah.
They would sit and they would talk to you, and it was more than business.
Mm-hmm.
So I was very comfortable being there and being around all those guys. I have much respect for each and every one of them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I come back and they go, well, while you were gone, WCW called and WWF called, and Kevin was the booker for WCW at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pat had called the office, and they were asking questions and this and that and everything like that. And they were talking to me and let me know what this, and what do you think? Where would you want to go? And blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, well, no disrespect to Kevin. I love Kevin, and I've always had respect for Kevin.
Yeah. And this is Kevin Sullivan. Kevin Sullivan.
Yeah, Kevin Sullivan. Yeah, he was the booker.
Mm-hmm.
And for the time I got in this business, I always wanted to go to WWF, and I was like, that's where I would, I have fear that maybe I'm not as good as I should be to be able to go there to be my best, but that's where I wanted to go.
Mm-hmm.
And if that makes any sense, I mean, I'm like, because the thing is with Vince, when he started WWF,
Mm-hmm.
he took the very best talents and champions
Mm-hmm.
from every single territory that there was.
Yeah.
The Freebirds, the Hacksaws, all the greatest of the great guys, were there.
Yeah.
Now he's on cable. He's a monster. He's a entity to be reckoned with, and you're like, man, I wonder if I'm good enough,
Mm-hmm.
And I finally said, that's where I really would want to go.
Yeah.
No disrespect to Kevin and WCW and Turner Broadcasting, but that's where I would want to go. I mean, if at all possible. So they got on the phone and everything, and they made an appointment. My first dark match was in Niagara Falls. And this when they got a chance to look at me, because trust me, back in the day, they got tapes every single day from guys all over, and fans all over that would present, different talent that was out there wrestling in the independent territories. So they knew what and how you worked and what you did. That it's a matter of how you would react and who you work with and the whole 9 yards when they brought you in. You know what I'm saying? And that's the whole truth there. And so I came up there, did a couple of different dark matches, and at different days. Okay, and did that a couple of different TVs, and then they wound up, we're gonna put you on, blah 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 blah, the whole 9 yards, and so the first 6 or 8 months that I wrestled there was I had been wrestling as Big Steel Man in Florida. Okay. And for the first 6 or 8 months, matter of fact, all of the encyclopedias, because most fans don't realize this, and they'll have me do signings and stuff, and I'm 3 different places in the encyclopedias. And they're like, well, I said, they'll have me sign Tugboat, they'll have me do Typhoon and Natural Disasters. And I go, I'm in here a third time. No, what do you? I says the first 6 to 8 months I was Big Steel Man. Matter of fact, it is a misprint. It's Big Man Steel is the way it reads in the book.
Okay.
In all 3 books, Big Man Steel instead of Big Steel Man.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where were you? So you were Big Man Steel in Florida, or because I'm just confused.
Big Steel Man.
Okay, in Florida. In Florida.
Yeah, that's why I went there. They changed. Steve Kern said, because I always was around industrial stuff. That matter of fact, the helmet I used to wear to the ring was the president of the American Steelworkers Union.
Oh, okay.
He had given me that helmet.
Okay.
My buddy was good friends with him, and he goes, "My buddy's got a present for you," because he told him about the gimmick they wanted to give me. He goes, "He wants to give you something," and he was the head cheese of the American Steelworkers Union.
Yeah.
I mean, so I was like, "Wow, it's awesome." I'm like, incredible fiber metal helmet, and
And I've got to ask you, because I don't want that to slip my mind. I saw you posted something recently where you had the flannel shirt and you'd walked on Monday Night Raw with that. I forget that. When was that? Did you bring that back to WWE? The Big Steel Man gimmick? Because I didn't see.
That's the first 6. No, that was the first 6 8 months that I was there. Okay. Then they kind of, when they did when the hubbub happened with the Shockmaster, I was Uncle Fred. Okay. Uncle Fred was kind of a blue collar guy, but they had me in a white helmet, white construction helmet, and and construction gear and that stuff. Everything come in. So but a couple of them were like, "Oh, don't you remember that Shawn Michaels what was it, a lumberjack match that you were in?" I go, "No, it was Big Steel Man." I says, I wore it. I know. This is my shirt. But I had a multitude of shirts. Yeah. When I wrestled in Florida, the gym I trained at was a powerlifting gym called Suncoast Powerlifting, and they were number 1 and number 2 in the United States powerlifting of teams.
Yeah.
From one year to the other, more number 1s than number 2s.
Yeah.
And I always put them over. I had bright red shirts at Suncoast.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
What were some of your biggest lifts, actually, before we go, that on like bench press, squat, deadlift? What were some of your biggest lifts back then?
Well, when I was young and dumb, and I benched over 6. Okay. And 6.5 was the best that I did. 6.5, and then I pulled a little over 8 deadlift, and then I squatted like 920, 930, not huge, but here I'm just a hair short of 6'7".
Yeah.
I'm short now, sure, because I'm older, probably, but 6'7", so pretty respectable. I mean, but I trained with a lot of animals. We had probably 5, 6 guys that could bench 6.
Yeah, that's a
you
lot.
know, and we had a guy uh, that squatted about 980, 980.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 975, 980
But did you
for sure.
protect, because you seem today that you seem, fairly, you can move well and everything else. Joint wise, everything, you feel good today?
Well, I used to teach when I came off the road and that stuff. I also used to teach first aid, CPR. I would uh, work with a safety company also when I wasn't wrestling, and I taught OSHA awareness and the whole nine, and mine safety for MSHA here in the United States. And I it's one of those things where I've had about 164 or 5 stitches in my head. My nose has been broken 6 times.
Mhm.
I've had 4 teeth kicked out at different times in Japan. Um, I had perforated eardrum, this right eardrum. Um, 3 fingers broken here on my right hand, 2 on this hand, both thumbs. My pinky, my grandson broke at a restaurant,
Oh.
swinging on my finger, and it popped. And he's like, "What's that, Papa?" I said, "You just broke Papa's finger," because I didn't put it over. He's like, "Oh," he started giggling. He thought that was funny.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I've my whole quadricep tendon on the right leg. I severed the quadricep and the tendon where it rolled up, where they had to drill lengthwise in my kneecap, pull it back down, and pull the cable through my knees and tie it off. He said, my obstetric, uh, my doctor, he's a funny guy. When I come in for anything, he would always have young doctors in there.
Mm.
Oh, he used to wrestle. Let me go down the list of the stuff that I put on here. I says, yeah, he gave me a couple of extra knots in my right leg. That way I wouldn't have to worry about it. My ACL on my left leg severed completely in half. I had to be re-put together. Um, partially torn patella tendon. My what do you call it? My at my ankle, uh, where the Achilles tendon attaches, ripped off and severed like the heads of a old school mop. So they had to immobilize, because I'm a type 2 diabetic. They had to immobilize my left leg and in a boot and let it heal back as best as it possibly can. That one I heard in my head when it popped.
Gosh.
I thought that was a weird sensation.
Yeah.
But and then both shoulders ripped out, dislocated.
Mhm.
And a few other things. I had bone chips, both elbows that floated around, and one calcified in the left elbow.
Mhm.
So they cut in there and took out a piece about the size of a quarter. That
Okay.
was where they all, you know. So I don't have full extension,
Mhm.
and I don't have full upright pull on my arms and that. But I try to every day.
Yeah.
I have a gym at the house, and that's really good.
Yeah.
But I'll handle the poundages I did as a youngster. And
Right.
I've dropped weight because there's no need for me to be at my heaviest. I was about 415, 416.
Okay.
And there's no need for me to do it. But that weight, I could drop kick a 6'8" guy in the face, and
Yeah.
drop kick, and all that kind of stuff. And, at one
Yeah.
point in time, I was right at 400. I could stuff a basketball. So I had pretty good spring in my legs.
No, no, that was the thing with you is I remember watching you as a kid and you were just so quick and agile. You moved around. Um, I could see physically you were strong. I mean, like I said, you could see the difference. Your arms were big. You were muscular beneath, and
Yeah.
you were a big muscular guy, but your agility was something else. Um,
Plus, that's the thing with me and Quake together. It was the best best. We were so alike. He's my brother from another mother.
Mm-hmm.
And he was such a great guy. He hated being a heel.
Mm-hmm.
Hated it.
Okay.
And he wanted to be he loved being a babyface. He loved children. He loved, all these things.
Mm-hmm.
Like me, I've got somewhere amongst my stuff
Mm-hmm.
a picture of my family at then and him and his family at Disney World on the Dumbo ride with mouse ears on. Okay.
Yeah.
Obviously we couldn't ride together.
Yeah.
Because we were about half a ton.
Yeah.
But there's another guy, he wrestled amateur. He was alternate on the Olympic team for Canada.
Mm-hmm.
He wrestled at LSU. He played rugby.
Mm-hmm.
He played what do you call it with the old Indian game with with the baskets on handle. Shoot.
No, baskets on a handle. I'm not thinking
Yeah, a lot of
lacrosse.
Yeah, lacrosse.
Lacrosse.
He can play lacrosse. Hell of an ice skater.
Really?
You know?
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Wow.
I got a picture of him on skates. Oh my God. Yeah.
Yes. It wouldn't have thunk it. It wouldn't have thunk it. Wow.
And just a wonderful, athletic and loving family guy. I mean, it is. Matter of fact, his son, John Jr., sent me years ago I posted it not too long ago. My wife's putting them in cases for my man cave.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
His singlet, all of his other stuff. His son has a singlet. I have a singlet.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they're the only two in existence. Everything else is gone.
Mm.
And so I've been offered a ton of money by a couple of different museum collectors, and I'm like, no, this is going here. That's something you'll have to discuss with my whoever gets argues over the estate grab stuff because they don't want it, they don't care about it.
Yeah.
But that's a part of my life. He is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was a huge part of pro wrestling culture, and you mentioned him being a good guy. I do remember when you guys turned babyface and you could see the smile on his face. I remember that, like when you'd raise your hands at the end of the match and he had that childlike glow smile about him as being a babyface. I have fond memories. I was there. I watched you guys at SummerSlam '92. I was at Wembley Stadium.
Wow.
I was among that crowd as a little boy watching
Amazing crowd.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That was.
I love UK fans.
Yeah.
I love all fans, and it's nice to be appreciated for what you've done. Mm-hmm. And I make that clear. And to me, as a professional wrestler, excuse me, the fans are the most important thing. Without fans, who are the wrestlers?
Yeah.
Just some goofy guys that are, in the ring getting sweaty and knocking the crap out of each other for what?
Yeah.
But people, good, bad, or ugly, fans are incredible. I'm a fan.
Yeah.
I'm still remain a fan. There's a lot of new guys that I really like, and I love to watch work. Yeah. But I feel blessed to have been a part of a business that's so hard to be a part of, and be a decent guy sometimes. Yeah. Because there's so many things, so many. It's like the snake in the heart garden of Eden. Yeah. A lot of temptation.
Yeah.
But you got to be responsible for who you are, and especially if you're married or have a girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. You got to remember, and that there's other people that you're affecting people's lives, children, your spouses or whatever, and and I think it's very unusual too nowadays to see so many men and women that wrestle be together as couples because knowing the business.
Yeah,
it's a very hard business.
Yeah,
very hard on relationships, very hard on people in general. that it's just it strikes me as odd. That's all I can say.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've heard, yeah,
Excuse
yeah,
me.
we've heard a lot. I've interviewed a lot of your peers from that time period, and it's the same consensus. It's a very tough business. It's very tough to juggle personal life and with professional life, especially at this travel schedule that you guys had.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
but no, well, as you were talking there, I remembered I actually had the Typhoon action figure, the old Hasbro. I had
Oh
the
man.
kid and with the natural disasters. But it brings me to Tugboat, because even as a
Yeah.
kid, I remember thinking, man, I wish they had a Tugboat action figure with the hat and everything.
Right.
So when they brought you in as Tugboat, they
Yeah.
pretty much accelerated you really fast. You were with Hogan, you were his friend, uh,
Yeah.
so,
His cheerleader. That's what I was, his cheerleader in a
yep,
lot of aspects,
yep. You're his cheer.
and I was so nervous. You're going out to the ring with going through the curtain, and you're at the gorilla position waiting to go. And I'd have to pee sometimes 2 or 3 times because I'd be so nervous
Yeah,
because I'm going out with the top dogs
yeah,
in the business.
yeah,
There's no room for, what I would say, I didn't know, or I can't do that, or what, and you're like, all I can do is, say your prayers, okay, and try your hardest to do as good as you can
yeah,
and flow, because everybody that you're going to be working with and against has much more time
hmm
in this business
hmm
than you do.
yeah,
And for all intents and purposes, Vince McMahon, who was God of the WWF,
yeah,
he's in the back. And it was nothing to see him come out. If something was not right or something was messed up, oh Lord, there'd be hell to pay.
yeah,
He was a perfectionist,
yeah,
in his own right.
hmm
He had the most successful product on the market,
yeah,
and making a mistake could give an edge to another promotion.
hmm
I think more than anything else.
yeah,
Didn't you know better? Didn't you do this? You know, not there was no room for all shit. I messed up.
right,
You know,
yeah,
you know, it takes at least 3 attaboys to make up for that all shit moment.
yeah.
In the wrestling ring. So I mean, putting
No,
it bluntly, I mean that's just the deal.
yeah, yeah. I definitely see, if you look at, before he had the issues that came up in the early 90s, we won't go into that.
Yeah,
But if you look at the product, you're right. It was perfection. I've said it before on other interviews. If you look at SummerSlam 89, 90, 91, before all the issues began, those events were perfect. The characters were so well defined. And a lot of people say, oh, the golden era was just what it was. No, the golden era defined what pro wrestling has become today. That was the era that put it over the top, that made it possible for this to exist right now.
yeah,
And it was perfection. The storylines were great. Um, so I can see, yeah, that Vince would have been a perfectionist. I mean, it was darn near perfect. But you had that time as Tugboat, and then of course the Natural Disasters, which is a great pairing, a great name, great. You got the tag team belts, Jimmy Hart. That was great to have him as an addition with you guys.
oh
Um,
yeah,
but then, you had the WCW, but you came back to WWF, because I remember you went to WCW, they did the Shockmaster, and then you did the other run
yeah,
there. That seemed to be short, but then I remember you coming
yeah.
back in '94.
But
So,
that was just the finish. That was the finish up
okay,
uh, Quake's run there. He was having with Yokozuna. They
got
called me. What took me off the road eventually was I opened my place at 2 nightclubs in Key West,
it. Okay.
and my brother-in-law was going to be managing when I wasn't on the road,
Mhm.
and he wound up getting shot and killed outside a convenience store in Tampa,
Oh,
and I had to go to events. I can finish up, my run with Quake and that, but I have to go. I had $500,000 or whatever involved in in that business down there that I outlaid,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, it would have killed me. And so I'm like, and it was hard enough to, you know, fill their shoes. I've been around the business. That's why I chose to open those businesses,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I know what I was doing. But unfortunately, it's a situation that, you know, I had to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then I, you know, Quake started, you know, he was by himself. There was like very little there. We worked 2 weeks or something like that and finished up. And then I was gone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I did a little bit. They tried to bring me in there. Dustin, once I got everything where it needed to be, I could go up and, you know, be able to do stuff here and there for WCW.
Mm-hmm.
But then they brought me in with that gimmick and all that stuff and everything. It was, they didn't know what they were doing. I talked to one of the head people there at a signing, a very, very important person in that office. He says they didn't know what they wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
They did this thing and, you know,
Yeah.
did it, and they didn't properly do the wall and stuff for you to come in and do the thing that they wanted to do. And, you know, they were hiding who you were because you came from up north. And I'm like, well, is what it is, all history now.
Yeah.
You know, and you can't cry over spilt milk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I use that. I've talked to kids even that have watched and everything, you know, and I tell them, I go, like, when you're having a really, really bad day,
Mm-hmm.
you go on YouTube with your dad, if you haven't seen it yet, watch this and have a better day at my expense. But let me explain something to you in front of your dad or your mom or whoever it is. I'm like, everybody, and no matter what they do, will have a shockmaster moment in their life.
Absolutely.
I've seen be top wrestlers.
Mm-hmm.
Something as simple as going to get a hot tag in a tag match, go to jump over the top rope, catch their toes on the top rope and fall flat on their face on a hot comeback. There's no, what do you call it? Fixed ideal setting.
Mm-hmm.
These things can happen. It could be at school. It's something that happens to you at school that you're just horrified about. It could be something at your dad's work or your mom's work. That they go to do something and completely, maybe a sale, if they're real estate of property or something, paperwork that's messed up. Everybody has a shockmaster moment. And I'm not taking any heat away from what happened. I says, I took it, you know, I says, it was horrible drive home to Tampa, okay, from Daytona Beach where this was at. And it was live TV. And I had to pantomime, you know, I went through the wall, the thing pops off, you grab it, try to jump up as quick as possible and, you know, pantomime deal. Meanwhile, you got all these guys. And if you watch the video and you're reading their lips and stuff and the stuff that's coming out of their mouth and the looks in their faces and their eyes, you know, but it happens to everybody. And, you know, I own it. I've got 2 figures who are out there that have made me a decent amount of money. You know, one was the 2016 San Diego Comic-Con exclusive figure from Mattel, Shockmaster figure, which outlines on the back of it, it has a big hole in it. I'm on straight up and down like I'm a break dancer with the helmet sitting next to my head. And on the back is the whole scenario of what transpired and what happened. So it's a cool thing, and people love it. And I get, you know, these people want me to this and that, sign it and everything like that. Not right now, they retail for around $250, $300. If they're signed, you know. So I think it's pretty good. At a Comic-Con they just finished doing this year's, that at that Comic-Con they draw probably 160, 180,000 people for the week.
It's a lot.
It's a pretty crazy deal.
You had an incident that became a legendary moment, and now he So
and there's another figure that it's out there also, a $200 plus figure of the Shockmaster, and you know, I can take the hits. I mean, they come, you know, and people laugh or like, oh my God, I can't believe that, or they'll go, man, you're a hell of a guy, you know, with this happening to you and that stuff. I says, brother, it can happen to anybody.
Yeah, it
any
can.
given time.
Yeah.
So I'm not making excuses for it by no way I'm
Yeah.
making excuses. But I'm like, I own it, and just like everything in life, it's there, and you take it however you're going to take it.
Yeah.
And I learned that at a very young age.
Hmm.
And to be accepting, because not every day is going to be a home run, or every day is going to
It,
be
it,
top notch. I mean,
it
you have
it's
no calling.
Yeah, it's strange how people do that. I mean, you could, like you said, a ring announcer could trip over the rope getting in the ring. I mean, I think a lot of the, some of the people out there, they made a lot of fun of Sid over the years for his promos. But at the end of the day,
Yeah,
it's like you said, these are people that don't lace their boots, don't talk in front of 20,000 people. They don't know what's going on in that person's mind, the type of nerves and anxiety, and accidents and mistakes happen. It's nothing to be, like you said, it can happen in any profession. You could be walking down the hallway at school, not be looking where you're going, a door opens and you walk straight into it.
yeah,
It's anything, it's
yeah.
nothing. It's
Especially when it's something that you're doing that is faulted by what somebody else didn't do
right, right,
at the time. So,
right.
it is what it is, and that's the way you have to look at it. And I own it, and I love it. I
Hmm.
have fun with it. I post stuff on there all the time and everything.
Yeah.
And another example, I posted not about a week ago or less, working with Yokozuna, and I knew exactly where it was at
Hmm.
when I saw it. It's when we worked on Long Island, uh, at the hockey arena out there. I don't believe it's open anymore. And he shot me into the ropes, and the top rope just blew out.
Yeah.
But I've had it happen to me 2 or 3 times before, where, it snapped out, the turnbuckle snapped.
Hmm.
I was trained a long time ago. You hook the next rope down, to keep you from flipping over or getting severely hurt.
Yeah.
And that's lessons that were taught to me by the great Malenko. We learned those things. And there was some of the comments there, and they were like, wow, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. And blah, 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 blah. I wrestle. No, they told me that. And I never saw it. And yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. No,
Mhm.
it's incredible, some of these things, and some of those things we never got to see. I don't remember seeing that myself. So that
Yeah.
would have been 93, 94. Because I remember, yeah, you
Yeah.
were in. I remember seeing you at the beginning of 93 in WWF, then later 93 in WCW. Then I saw you briefly in
Yeah.
94 when they brought back Earthquake as well. So then what happened after that then, Fred? So what was the idea to, because obviously WCW was still hot. I mean, it was getting hotter. We
Yeah.
were going into the, NWO era. So
Yeah. The Monday Night Wars.
Monday Night Wars. Did you
Yeah.
just want to retire at that time, or what, were you tired? Why did you
I
decide
could,
to leave?
I did. Plus, I had some stuff that I did overseas, some in Japan, some in Europe, and that. So I was able to do that, and I when I wasn't wrestling, I was getting certified different stuff for industrial. Okay, and I at one point I owned a bar in Key in I sold the ones in Key West, and then I moved to back to Tampa, and I opened a bar up there, out by near where the Seminole Gaming Palace is, and we opened a bar up out there, and I put most of my attention into that and everything, and then getting also certified in uh, medical and certified in mine safety, and also taking some classes uh, for other different stuff. And the fact that I started working at a young age,
Mhm.
I was certified to fly to drive 26, 28 different lift trucks.
Okay.
So I worked for a safety company there, and I worked before the safety company. I worked with an industrial company. We worked all power plants, mines, all that stuff and everything.
Mhm.
I trained all the guys for the company. I went out and did safety inspections, all that stuff and everything.
Mhm.
And worked on site and stuff like that with the guys and everything. So we did hydroblast and industrial vac. And then I started working with some friends of mine that I went to some of my classes with, that they worked for fire department in Polk County, which is in between Lakeland and is in the Lakeland area between Orlando and Tampa. And so I taught, they were independent safety company. Okay. And I would teach classes, you know, OSHA awareness and for different individual contractors and stuff like that, and mine safety, and do we only did above ground mining in Florida, not, you know, like other states. So we did have it was 24-hour classes, and they did 12-hour refreshers every year.
Okay.
And so I worked along with that, and, you know, different companies certifying their guys on lift trucks and stuff and everything, and put them through their paces and stuff. Yeah. So it was a real fun job too, along with owning my own business. So it was good. And about that point, I got divorced from my first wife. So, you know, because being able to support your family and take care of your family is kind of an important thing to me.
Yeah.
And if you don't want to, she never wanted to work in that. So, I mean, that's water under the bridge.
Yeah.
You know, but it was a great experience. I'm glad that I knew the things that I did know. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I had a good time with that, you know, as far as that goes.
Did you adjust? Because it seems like you did. I mean, you're very well adjusted. We know some stories of guys that can't leave wrestling behind. Did you adjust fairly easy? Did you miss it at first, or was it fairly easy?
Well, you're always going to miss it. If it's something you love, you're going to miss it. Mm-hmm. You know, but for me, in my case, you know, I love it. Like I said, I still do the signings, so I see all the guys and a lot of the newer faces that are out there, and get a chance to meet them and kind of feel out and see what they're all about and everything. And some of the older people that I never worked with, mm-hmm. that came maybe after me or worked in for different companies and stuff. Yeah. I was with Miss Deborah McMichael. Oh, okay. At the signing over. She was at the table with me, uh-huh. in Charlotte, and she was a sweetheart, great lady, you know. And I seen a bunch of my other friends and my other brother-in-law. See, Sags the Nasty Boys is my other brother-in-law.
Oh, he is?
Okay, okay. Sags, the dark haired.
Yeah.
Okay, he's my other brother-in-law. You know, Dustin, that's my other nephew, mm-hmm. and Cody's my nephew. You know, so it's, you know, and I like, you know, if I'm able to see any of these people, it's even that much more of a blessing, I think, to my, you know, for me. Yeah. You know, and great guys like Tito Santana, mm-hmm. Who's a great guy. If you ever have a chance to talk with him or meet him, he would be amazing. He's been teaching school the last bunch of years.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Very respectful, very nice man, mm-hmm. and just a blessing. He is definitely a blessing.
Yeah,
you know, and appreciates everything, you know, that he's done and people he's been with.
No, there's a lot of great guys from that time. I was actually communicating with Mike McGurk. Actually, we're trying to get.
Oh, she's a sweetheart.
Yeah, she seems like a very nice lady. So she's gonna hopefully be a guest here with us soon. It's going to be nice to capture her story. She was a definitive voice of that time, of that era.
Oh, sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And a beauty. She was definitely a beauty. She was a princess among announcers.
Yeah.
No doubt. Yes.
Yeah. So and she comes from a steep family of wrestling too. Her family are.
Oh yeah, her dad was promoter. Yeah.
Yep. So but coming forward to the present, Fred, because obviously, you know, you've got the restaurant there. You've got your wife. You talk so fondly of your wife. So you know, not getting too personal, but tell us a little bit about that and what makes a great relationship there for the two of you, and then a little bit about this restaurant that you guys have now.
Well, you know the old adage, happy wife, happy life. That's very true.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And anytime you have to think sometimes and take a breath, is anything when you go to have an argument, and nothing is perfect, you know, you're always going to have issues and stuff and everything. It's how you handle those issues. It's how, you know, what's most important. Is your opinion more important than hurting the feelings or upsetting the woman that you love and care about? Okay, that's always there for you. And even when she knows that you're a knucklehead, okay, which with me, yeah, I'm a 6-year-old trapped in a 68-year-old body, So she is a blessing on so many levels. She was my friend when I wrestled here in Tennessee. A friend. Me and my partner I tagged with at that point lived. She was in the midst of a divorce, and they were living in an apartment complex that we were living in. And the kids used to see us out there like two big whales, because my partner, he was about 6'10". His name was Goliath. He was from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Okay. And he would be, we'd be out there at the pool when the weather was nice, and throw the kids in the pool and stuff like that, because we're both couple of kids, and he's like, and when we left, eventually gone from here, Sheila, my wife now, okay, always used to, her kids would say, Mama, where do you think, they'd go here? Or when I wrestled with WWF, I'd be in Nashville, and they were, come on, Mom, take me there. He'll remember me. No, take me there. Take me there. I'll go, no, I ain't going to go there. You're going to see, why do you want to go down there? Argue back and forth and everything. And I had gotten married. I had 3 children. I was living in Florida, all that stuff. They used to go to the Panhandle, the Redneck Riviera, Panama City, all the time. And I go, the kids would say, I wonder where he's living down here. Why don't you look? Maybe we can find it. We can see Bubba. We can see Bubba, because I wrestled here as Bubba then. Yeah. And I'm like all the years. And then I had gotten divorced, all that stuff. And then the lady that I worked for, that I was teaching safety for, I had a laptop, and she goes, you should get on Facebook. Okay. And I said, I'm not that. That's not me, man. What's the deal? Yeah. Anyway, I finally, I listened to her, and she set up the thing for me. I get it on Facebook, and next thing you know, I have message popped up on the board. Are you who I think you are? And I'm like, who's this? Yeah. And I may either talk in person or talk on a phone. My one son used to make me mad all the time, because he'd only want to message me and not talk. Yeah. And I'm like, and it's so impersonal. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And I'm like, I go, who do you think I am? And I says, and we went back and forth and that stuff. And I told her, I says, I'm not good with this stuff. I says, you look familiar. Okay. The picture I seen, but this is my number. You want to call me and you want to talk like human beings, I'll talk to you. And the next thing you know, she called, and we started talking, and then we started talking fairly regularly. And she was just a friend of mine back in the day. Yeah. Nothing other than that, a friend. All of us would get together, go eat dinner or some pizza or some, whatever. And she had went with us, took the boys to watch us wrestle a couple times and stuff there in Nashville and that. And next thing you know, we're talking, and she says, I want to come down and see you. At that point, I was taking care of my ex-father-in-law. He was going through a bunch of stuff. Look, she's here now. She's a fly on the wall. She's over here by the door. But she come down and to Tampa and come to my father-in-law's house, and the rest is history. Yeah. Wasn't that long. Matter of fact, her birthday and our anniversary is coming up the 31st of the month. Oh. I asked her what she wanted for her birthday, and what did you say, honey? She wanted me. Wow. So we got married 31st. Yeah. Why the 31st? Because if I can't remember her birthday and I can't remember our anniversary, man, I got a giant problem. Okay. Yeah. But she's hardworking, loving, caring, not just because she's going through stuff over here to take out to the restaurant, but she's the cat's pajamas, as they said back in the olden days.
Yeah.
She's just amazing. I mean, and she's smart,
Mhm.
strong,
Mhm.
no nonsense,
Mhm.
and she don't sugarcoat it. And I admire that,
Yeah.
and I appreciate her for that.
Mhm.
You know, she may not give you the answer that you want to hear,
Mhm.
but she'll give you the answer that you maybe need
Yeah.
at some point in time.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for that,
Yeah, there
you
is a
know?
lot to be said. As a married man myself, and I feel that God blessed me with a tremendous woman.
Yes,
And similar to you, everything I reflect what you said about my wife. Yeah, but yeah, sometimes some things that I don't want to hear, but yet she'll say. But I think, that's part of why God does put a husband and wife together. You've got to learn from the two become one. So you have to learn. It's difficult for us, especially us, little boys in men's bodies to wrap our heads around sometimes, but it is,
yes,
vitally important. It does make us, I can say safely that I have become a better man. Even in my creative world, even in my career, a much better man, with this beautiful
yes.
gift God has given me and my wife. So, it's a happy for you that you've also found that in your life. And it
It's
shows.
a blessing.
Yeah.
It's a blessing. You
Yeah.
know, it's truly a blessing. You know, it's, you know, and I'm not saying it's for everybody.
Mhm.
I should only wish that everybody should find somebody that cares about them as much as my wife cares about me and is accepting
Yeah.
of some of the stuff that I have done in my life that have made me a better person also.
Mhm.
You know, if you can't learn from your lessons, you know, the hiccups in the road and that stuff, it's the problem that people have of not learning lessons
Right.
and not taking away, if you're able to get away without having a horrendous problem in your life because of something that you didn't give enough thought to,
Hmm.
you know, I mean, that's a very big deal, I think.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. It's, you know, and in times now, you know, it's like going back to, you know, what we talked about in this, you know, that, you know, now there's so many, you know, it seems like so many people, so many young people are doing stuff. It makes me sound like an old fuddy duddy. And I
Mhm.
don't feel that way. I
Mm.
feel like I was blessed with good parents.
Mhm.
And I know that's not always the case. Not everybody's blessed with good parents,
Right.
you know? I mean, you know, I hear generation A, Y, A, B, C, D, Z, Q, X, Y, Z.
Yeah.
And then I hear the most stupid things I identify as a hairbrush, or identify as a cat, or
Yeah.
identify. What are you thinking about?
Right. Right.
You know, I mean, it's not it's
Yeah.
not brain surgery.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know, it's not brain surgery. Life is, you know, there's always going to be problems and troubles and stuff. You know, and there's no perfect hand given to anybody. But I mean, you know, that's, you know, it's life is a learning experience.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, just make sure that you learn,
Mhm.
you know, learn from life, you know, and learn from things. When you do things that are wrong, you know, there are certain things that are going to happen. There are consequences
Mhm.
that you're going to, you know,
Yeah.
is it worth,
Yeah.
you know, is the scale, you know, they need to look at that blind justice there and the scales of justice,
Yeah.
you know, you
No.
know,
And also, I think also, Fred, another thing is to get out, to engage, to talk to your elders. And I think that a lot of the issues are coming from that. Too much introverted space, too much just social media, not enough interaction, not enough, because again, if you lock yourself in a room for 30 days, you're going to start going nuts, right? So you're not, you're going to start thinking weird thoughts. So I think that social interaction that my generation still had, I praise God, thank the Lord. I was born
oh,
during that time. We
yeah,
still went out on our bicycles, skateboards, roller skates, and, built things
right.
in the woods. So, and I think that that's the thing that at least I think parents should encourage their kids to, yeah, put the phone down, get off of that, go in the yard, get your hands dirty, run around. Don't be afraid of the sun. You're not gonna, You know, you can get a bit of a
Yeah.
tan. It's okay, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Simple things like that, getting back into nature. And I know your generation was blessed with even more because by my time, video games had hit. So we were kind of starting to get trapped inside a little bit more. But, you know,
Yeah.
I'm fortunate in that. Fred, I got a couple of questions. One of my friends here from
Yeah.
Jesse Hernandez School in California,
Sure.
he's about to begin a wrestling journey. Well, he already has in training, and he asked me. He said, "Please, can you ask?" Because he's a big supporter of yours, a big fan of yours. He said, "Please,
Yeah.
can you ask him a question." So he said, "As a larger guy in pro wrestling, what do you recommend for finding your niche? What avenues did you explore to find your particular style?"
I think that I always wanted to learning more. Okay. And have, if you're going into battle, you want as much ammunition as possible. That's all I could tell you.
Yeah.
And learn as many things for a short period of time, about 8 months or so. We had a little wrestling school down in Tampa, and I tried to get Hector Guerrero to come around, and he was teaching and stuff like that. And there was some issues in that, but I think that because I think it's important for pro wrestlers to have if they have the opportunity to work with guys that know amateur wrestling, if they haven't had any experience with amateur wrestling, if they have a chance to work with luchadors, you know, that work, because lucha is from the opposite side as opposed to how the people wrestle here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the more things that you know, okay, as far as wrestling ability, the better it is. The more things you come out there. I'll watch Monday Night Raw, or I'll watch NXT, and I'll watch 3 or 4 or 5 matches, and so many people do so many of the other people the matches before them, the stuff that they did in during their match. And let me tell you something, in the and I see guys that are doing finishes for a high spot.
Mm-hmm.
And just I could go down a laundry list of this, 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 this. There's no perfect world or perfect game plan, but I'm thinking, like, the more that you know how to do, and the more versatile you are. If you're a big man and you can do stuff that little men do, that's like, I loved working with Quake because we could do double stuff, we could do this, we could do that, everything.
Yeah.
It's like Vader, when Vader, he did his moonsault, right? He was known for his moonsault.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, that's something that's a spectacular move should be saved for a big event,
Yeah.
or a big pay-per-view, or a big, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Not to use every night.
Right.
When you got a 400+ pound guy doing moonsaults, he broke his toes, he did this. If you can't wrestle, okay, you ain't getting paid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can't, when you're putting time on the road and you multiple matches and stuff, because at TVs for us, you'd work 2-3 times or more a night, different hours. You get to the building by noon, you're doing promos, you're doing all these different things and that. And now you've got so many things that we didn't have.
Mm-hmm.
I love doing promos and that.
Yeah.
But I learned all my facial expressions and all that stuff. We had no cameras. We had no cell phones. We had none of these modern conveniences that you could use to practice,
Right.
And we didn't have a YouTube where you could pull up wrestling from all over the world and all different styles.
Yeah.
And the fact that he is still training, he has the ability to get with guys that he's working with, and they see things, man, let's try this.
Yeah.
This is how, and see, as long as it's not something that's going to jeopardize you breaking your neck or something,
Yeah.
and work with somebody that, takes care of you. Because in wrestling business, we take care of each other's bodies. Because if we hurt one another, we don't work. And if we don't work, we don't make money. And if we don't make money, okay, mama's going to be very upset when we go home, because the rent ain't getting paid, car ain't getting paid. I'm not able to buy groceries. It's one of those deals.
Yeah.
So, as far as a big guy goes, learn everything you can and work on your promos, have somebody talk for you. I mean, get out there, and you talk, you get in the, and even if it's, like I said, you have maybe an iPad, or if you have absolute lowest, a small computer, flip computer or whatever, or your phone or everything, you have all these things there for that part of the business. And watch videos of promos and pick and choose out of them. Don't copy people, because they'll figure it out. It's like everybody that goes, oh yeah, Macho Man, it's here. They know where you got that at, okay? So it's all right to see things that you like and you want to emulate, but doing your promos like it's a shoot is what was always told to me. And if you're wrestling in the ring, don't be so caught up in what you're doing inside the ring that you forget what's happening on your face. Because the guy up on the top rope, the top of the ring, the auditorium over here, if you're down here, got a guy in a headlock and his face is in your belly, they don't know if you're hurting them. They don't know what you're doing to them, because they can't see. Body language, facial expressions, all that stuff. All the guys I learned from luchadors, okay, they use their body. If your face is covered with a mask, how do you show if you're hurting? How do you show if you're mad? How do you show if you're sad, or whatever you're trying to bring out and pass on to the public that's out there, the fans, to make them understand what you're doing and what you're going through? If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, you got to. Yeah, I think who it was, Rico. I was talking to a good friend of mine, Rico Constantino from WWF, and Rico was telling me the same thing. When you're around the ring, and whether it's an independent show or not, be prepared for TV. Make those movements exaggerated so that the guy up there can see you, can see that movement. Don't just play to just the front row.
Well, you should be able to pick out something. Say there's a woman in the 4th or 5th row or whatever, and you're working with a baby face. Okay. You want to, if she loves that baby face and you're the big heel, okay, and you're beating the crap, you grab him and you looking directly into her eyes. And what do you think now? He's not so pretty now, grab and open his upper and lower jaw. And do stuff to him that's intentional, things that, what I'm saying? And you look at them, then you may give him a little comeback, she's upset, she's almost on the verge of tears. You're like, give him a comeback, boom, 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 boom. And she's coming up. And then you cut him off, bring him right straight back down where oh my God. Make her just incredible. It's all psychology. You're telling a story. In other words, what do you think about him now? Give him one last kick as you step on him to go across to the other side. Like a piece of garbage. I mean, just little subtle things. And everything that you watch in life, movies and stuff like that, whether it be a horror film or whether it's a murder film or whatever, you can grasp different things. And that's be a cool spot to do to somebody, but and learn how to work, work it and everything like that. And then you can have somebody video you when you're doing training sessions, because if you're worth it, you really got your heart into it, you need to train. You're always training, whether it's in front of an audience or whether it's in front of your peers. You're constantly training and you're constantly learning. When you've learned it all, maybe it's time to retire, but you'll never learn it all. Yes. Yeah.
I think that's a great answer. I'm sure he's going to be extremely appreciative. He's a big fan of yours. So, very, very grateful for that. Fred,
Yes.
I always ask this question because I like different perspectives. In your opinion, Fred, what is the meaning of life?
The meaning of life? Oh, that could mean so many things to so many different people, depending on their their mental outlook on life. You know, some people are more interested in material things. I want to know, for me, happiness would be having a wide variety of, and be going back to that learning all the time, learning more and more knowledge, and learning a variety of more and more things. And on top of that, you know, having a good personal life, a good personal life with Jesus, you know, and having, you know, that, you know, a lot of people are, you know, anti-religion. So I'm not saying religion, you know, for me, you know, it's having that love in my heart and love for other people. You know, and I've met a lot of people, good, bad, or ugly. You know, I would never, you know, some people really irritate me, but you know what? You haven't walked a mile in their shoes. You don't know if there's a stone in there irritating them. And you don't know what they've done in their life or what's gone on in their life. You know, and so I believe that you should always be as nice as you can be to someone. And if they're not willing to accept you, or, you know, for who you are as an individual, you know, you should want to be as happy as possible and have as least amount of conflict in your life. And if somebody's, you know, there's all different types of people. I post all these different posts all the time. You know, I mean, there's things that, you know, people cannot like you because they're jealous of what you've accomplished, jealous of what you are as a person, jealous that you've got a smile on your face, you know, and what's he so happy about, that bastard, that son of a gun? And, you know, you know, I got more money than him. And, but how come I'm not as happy as him? You know, I've got a Ferrari, I've got a Lamborghini, I've got a Rolls, you know, I got a beautiful wife and house and that, but are you happy? Are you happy? You know, and are you better than me? Really? Are you better than me? I didn't realize that it was so important, you know, so that means you must have a pretty shallow personality if you're worried about being top dog, being the best, and being better than everyone else. You should wish everybody to do well as they can do, you know, and be as successful as they want to do. And I talked to a young man today. I'm like, you know, because he's trying to, he does music and he sings on the weekends and that stuff. He was talking to my wife about maybe a cook's position. And I'm like, brother, I says, don't let anybody ever poop on you, you know, poo-poo on your, what you want to do. It may not be in the stars for you to do that, but nothing's going to keep you. If you love it and you love to do it, nobody should ever, you know, don't pay attention to a person that would downgrade you or try to, you know, keep you from what your goal. Those are your goals.
Exactly.
They had goals to do something. Maybe their stuff didn't happen, or, you know, but there's no reason, you know, they should boost you, you know, chase your dream. You know, just like with wrestling and stuff like that, you know, with wrestling is like football, basketball, you know, hockey, any other sport, track, field, whatever. Okay. For every year, for the positions that are there's only so many. And there's thousands, literally thousands and thousands of people that are as good or maybe better than you that are vying for your job. It is a competition. Okay. And you gotta have thick skin like a rhinoceros. Okay. And you gotta, you know, do the best you can do. It's not always going to work out to be the best for you, but nobody can keep you from trying to achieve the things that you want. And the good Lord upstairs, he's the only one who can give you a boost. Just, you know, pray, work hard, you know, and be caring and loving. And, you know, I think that's what makes, those are big things that make, you know, judging a person, you know, be, you know, what you said, you know, as far as, you know, perfect, you know, a perfect type of, you know, thing in life. Life should be what you make of it. You know, if you don't accomplish something, it's either because you weren't meant to,
Mhm.
okay, or you didn't do the things you should have done.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something missing in that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But don't be suicidal because you weren't a Hulk Hogan or a Ric Flair or John Cena, The Rock, and
Yeah.
all the I'm saying, all those different things.
Yeah.
And that's just pretty basically the deal. I mean, for me, being perfect is having achieved the stuff that I have.
Mhm.
If I had to do it all over again, good, bad, or ugly, I would want to do it all over again. I love the business and I love being around the guys that were in the business. And they weren't all jewels. They were far from it.
Yeah.
And but you know what's right and what's wrong. And hopefully there was somebody, if it's not your parents, somebody in your life. It could be a complete stranger, maybe a school teacher, or it could have been somebody else that acted like a mentor and taught you things. You learn from. That's why I always used to like hanging out with older people,
Yeah.
because they experienced so much in life,
Mhm.
and they taught. Just even in conversation, it was always a teaching thing.
Yeah.
And they made, it was fun. I was a smile on my face. They'd crack a joke or something like that or whatever.
Yeah.
But they'd also give me great inspiration and great knowledge, and that's stuff that you can't go to school and stuff that you can't buy.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. And you
I
can't,
mean, yeah,
just like what you're doing now. And I think, and that's another great tool for the internet. We're able to do things like this, and hopefully someone can garner, like you said, maybe this video will reach that one person who doesn't have the parents that are supporting them, who is alone, but yet they catch this on an evening and they listen to it and they learn from that. And it could be the one thing they needed to hear to put them on that path to understanding life in a different way. Like you said, not everybody's going to be John Cena, not everyone's going to be Hulk Hogan in any field. But remember, there are
well,
supporting acts in that.
sure,
There are many other departments that go into making up a production, like you were saying earlier with your son, the things that he does to help that machine move.
yes,
It has to work in that way. But the thing, and I'll reflect your view there, Fred, for the viewers, to do your best, challenge yourself,
yeah,
stop worrying about the other person, challenge yourself to be better in the things you're doing and learn from those that have gone before you, much like we're doing here with Victoire. This is all about sharing you guys' story in hopes that it will encourage and educate and motivate those who are watching it.
oh,
Fred,
most definitely.
Fred,
All we
yep,
are a page in the book of life.
yep,
That's all we are.
yep.
Yeah.
Pretty much that is it. Fred, stay on the line for me, if you will. I'm just going to say goodbye to the viewers here because I
No
think
problem.
we'll leave it in a good place there. So, Fred Ottman, Tugboat, Typhoon, Shockmaster, it was just an absolute pleasure getting to know you, sharing your story and your motivation today. I'm sure our viewers will appreciate it. So, viewers,
Love it, man.
absolutely. Thank you so
Thank
much.
everybody out there.
Yep.
And thank you for having me on.
Yeah, you're welcome. You are very welcome, Fred. It's been an absolute pleasure. Ladies and gentlemen, until next time, victor what you must victor in your lives. I am Emir. This is Fred Ottman, and this has been Victoire. Thank you.